Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Wicked Dream Designs Nefarious. We finally have the production version of this knife. I remember however long ago seeing the computer renderings for this and just thinking that looks so unreal. It doesn't look real at all, and it wasn't at the time because it was a computer rendering, but I thought, I can't wait to check this out. It looks so cool. These are finally available. You can actually buy these right now off his website. I'll link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. By the way, who's the OEM? According to the website, it is Bestech. So that's who's making these. They did a really good job, by the way. Overall length of the Nefarious, not a small knife, 8 1/4 inches. Blade length is coming in at 3.5. Cutting edge also 3.5. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. This is definitely a full-size knife. It's not quite as bulky as something, like the 8010, but it is very similar. I mean, it's only a 1/4 inch shorter than my own Excalibur. So it's a full-size knife, and it has a lot of presence, a very loud design, just given how unique the blade shape is. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. About the same overall size or overall length as the PM2. And then finally, we'll put it up against the Benchmade Group Chilean, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? Really, really good. Sorry, I had a salad for lunch today, trying to watch my figure, and there's just been a piece of carrot I couldn't get. Anyways. The lock bar access is fantastic. And I remember this from handling the prototype. Lock bar access is great. There's no double clutch. It's beautifully smooth. This does come in a bunch of different configurations, by the way. You don't have to go with a black PVD blade, but really nice and so satisfying to flip. This is a knife that is as fun to look at as it is to fidget with. It looks angular and pointy and aggressive. It looks pissed off, but it's actually really friendly. It's so, I mean, as far as we'll talk about use here in a sec, but if you like to sit around, you got like whatever cool pocket knife you got on you for the day, right? If you like to sit around and kind of flip it and fidget with it, yeah, light switch it. This isn't a push button knife. You totally can. I think it's more comfortable to light switch, but very satisfying, awesome detent, really great pivot action. Bestech does a really good job. So action, great. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a little tiny bit. I mean, this is beveled, right? So it is thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. This, it's a crazy shape, right? It's very futuristic looking. Almost looks like it's something out of like the Destiny universe. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily take up more room in your pocket than like a Spyderco PM2. Let's weigh it, because that will definitely be a factor for some people. So what are we looking at for materials? In this case, we have a lot of Zircotite. This is an option. You can buy the Zircotite kit, which looks exceptionally cool on this knife because of that triangle captive pivot end. Like, that's so cool. But that little piece is Zircotite. The pocket clip is Zircotite, and the backspacer is, to my knowledge, also Zircotite. Yeah, you can see the little layers in there. But super cool. Normally, it's just titanium. Then we have a titanium frame. We have a stainless steel lock bar right here, nested. Then we have MagnaCut. What's the HRC? Bestech lists it as 62 to 63, which I find to be completely and totally acceptable. That's on the higher end of the range than what we typically see. Some companies will heat treat it as low as 60 or 61. And I don't like that. I think as long as it's 62 plus, you're good. So, nice. Happy with that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. I bet this weighs high fours, low fives. Yeah, high 4. 4.7. So, not too heavy for me. Might be too heavy for some people. I think right around 4.5 ounces is 4 to 4.5 ounces is pretty typical pocket knife weight for a full-size pocket knife, I should say. Your balance is maybe a 1/4 inch back from the pivot, but right in the middle of the primary index finger position. So honestly, it feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description. It talks about the tools I use on this channel. Your pivot is a T8, and your 2 visible body screws are also T8. This is a very simple knife to take apart and put back together. You'll have a hidden screw underneath for the pocket clip. T8 across the board. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Now, we need to do the blade stock thickness. There it is. Always escaping me. I bet you that's 150 thousandths. That's what I think. Let's take a look. Yeah, 153 thousandths. So there you go. Okay, meat and potatoes time. This is not a knife that you buy because you want some sort of specific utilitarian or tactical advantage. I mean, you can't, you can force it into whatever role. It is a very functional object, and it's actually, I think, a lot more functional than people like. If you wanted to EDC this, it's got a very fantastical blade shape, which I think the Wicked Dream thing is like this knife, the entire design and the blade shape, according to the designer, actually did come to him in a dream, which was the motivation behind the name of the company and the blade shape, which is really cool. I'm not sure exactly, what we call this blade shape. It reminds me kind of a Spanish tip razor, but it's essentially a reverse recurve secondary modified tanto. I don't know. As far as like what this edge is going to excel at, or what it's going to make more convenient for you, I don't know. I imagine somebody who works a lot with food might be able to come up with something. Maybe you could slice carrots real easy with it. I don't know. I mean, honestly, like it's functional, but it was clearly designed to look cool. And in today's day and age, there is a very specific, for anybody like going, why would you even make that if like, okay, I get it. Like if everything in your whole world needs to be functional, but imagine with me for a second. Imagine with me, with your imagination, that the knife industry is completely and totally packed, filled to the brim with incredibly utilitarian standard pocket knives. Imagine that in this totally non-reality that we have created with our imaginations, right? Now open your eyes. That is the knife market. That's how it is. 99%. I think people like to pride themselves into believing that, the reason that their pocket knife is superior is because finding a utilitarian cutting tool is, it requires special knowledge. You got to know things like, you got to know about blade geometry, fit and finish, and proper ergonomics. If you don't have a trained eye and a trained hand, well, you're not going to end up with something good. I don't know. I kind of feel like you can throw a rock in any direction and hit that. I mean, I feel like I say this a lot. I think the average person could do what I do. Right, reviewing pocket knives, right? I might put a little bit of, ham. I might slap some ham on it and, add a little bit of fun here and there. I might yell, say some real wacky stuff. But as far as understanding what makes a pocket knife utilitarian, I think that's pretty simple. It's pretty simple stuff. This person did not trip and fall down, and barf out this design and go, God, I hope it works as a tool. It works as a tool. I mean, it's not going to be the most convenient, but this was clearly a designy knife. This was, hey, I want to do something different that stands out in an oversaturated knife market. And whether you love this design or you hate this design aesthetically, it does do that. Now that you have seen it, you won't forget this. That's becoming increasingly difficult to do. Creating a design that stands out aesthetically is not easy. So I think this is cool. And even though it's not for everybody, I think that there are plenty of people out there who will pick it up just because it's cool. It's made by Bestech. It's made really, really well. The fit and finish is great, right? The materials used match the price zone. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, like, and if you want to carry it around and use it as a pocket knife, an everyday cutting tool, yeah, it'll cut, it'll slice. Honestly, the primary edge is super thin. So as far as like, how well does that primary edge or that initial edge pass through, paper and lighter materials, right? Yeah, it's ridiculously slicey. And this edge here also, I mean, even transitioning there, right? It's super sharp. I mean, you just push it right through there. The problem if you dedicate to this as an EDC, will be resharpening this. Wow. I don't even know. I mean, like, people who sharpen by hand can probably do it. If you use a guided system, it's probably going to look a little bit poopy after a bit, right? Here's your plunge grind. I feel like that's the least of your worries on this knife. So, yeah. Consider that, right? Tip, holy moly. I think I've poked myself multiple times. That tip is so fine, and that curvature, right? That it comes like this. Oh my gosh. Honestly, this looks like something that like Batman would carry on his utility belt, right? It looks like half of a Batarang. A lot of people describe it as looking like it is broken. I think he did a good job with all of the lines kind of matching. I like this sort of stepped. Doesn't it, like, anybody who's played Destiny, like, it looks like something from I can't remember what the spaceship was with the big, is it the witch, not the witch queen, but there was another guy that's like red. He has like a big skull or whatever. It looks like something from that ship. And I like it. It's really cool. Despite it being, it almost looks like it exists in the same fictional universe that inspired the Necronaut through Arcane Design, right? But still being its own thing. Like, those would do this. Wicked Dream and Arcane Design would be like two enemy factions, right? And I like it. I think it's cool. I like the fun, science fiction look. It's neat. Despite looking angular and sharp, it really isn't. And honestly, even that pocket clip is pretty friendly. It doesn't necessarily carry at the best angle, right? Just the curvature is much more meant to look cool, but it carries pretty darn well. I think I'd still give it like pocket experience, like B+, A-. I'm not doing that grading scale anymore, but yeah, I would have died to see this in a satin DLC. The PVD is fine. It's not as durable a coating as DLC. And obviously, the polished DLC looks better. Yeah, I would have died to see it in the DLC. And I think that would have made the price tag a lot easier to deal with. Again, we'll get there. Fit and finish everywhere is perfect. It's best deck. Everything is great. You have the logo here. Looks awesome. Honestly, like, this little thumb ramp here is like this. I'm locked in. The ergonomics on this knife are pretty darn impressive. I really like it. Nothing on the other side. I think somewhere it says MagnaCut. Yeah, right there. Just get a little peek at it right there as it comes around. And then also the stops are garaged, or they're internal, not garaged. They're riding on channels on either side of the frame there, so that's nice. Backspacer, if you don't go with the Timascus, is kind of just plain Jane, but that's fine because the rest of the knife has a lot of personality. No lanyard hole. Who cares? Pocket clip, right hand only. That's kind of a bummer. Wish we had a lefty carry option, but we don't. We have the stop pins. Yeah, I already went over that. Runs on bearings, obviously. No blade play up, down, left to right. No lock stick. No double clutch. No pivot lash. Ridiculously smooth and consistent in here. Nice clicky detent. Entry price. $339. Is that fair? That's a lot of money for a pocket knife, right? Now, this is not including the titanium or the zirconium Damascus accents, right? Is that fair? We have titanium. We have MagnaCut right there. Pretty expensive. Then we have full titanium for the, the extra hardware and things like that. I believe the pivot cap at least is titanium. That's all expensive when we're just reducing it to just materials. But that's where that ends. So comparing to any other knife that is titanium and MagnaCut and coming from China, you're probably going to end up with a much simpler build. This is obviously not a simple blade shape. I mean, it's hollow it's a compound blade, and it's this wacky reverse. Getting that blade shape done exactly right, like, nowadays, obviously, machines can cut and shape things in any way, but it still is going to be more expensive than just a typical drop point blade, right? There's more involved with cutting this material into this shape than simply creating a flat ground drop point blade. There just is. That's just it, right? There's also quite a bit of sculpting on the titanium. Definitely. There's a lot of shaping, a lot of sculpting there. Not anything too crazy, but there definitely is. I always say, the simple stuff, if we're talking titanium and what your flavor of exotic blade steel, and it's a simple build, we're looking at Miguron, we're looking at artisan cutlery, right? 200 to 250 typically is where those fall, and that's where they should because they're pretty simple. If you're going to be over 250, got to have something else. There's got to be something else going on there. If you're going to be over 300, there's got to be even more of that something else, right? Got to be real special. I would have loved to see this right at 300, and I'll tell you why I'm not too upset about 340. It's because I know that Bestech and these other Chinese OEMs that offer these OEM services are freaking hardcore with the amount of room they leave for the designers to make any profit. If Bestech made this themselves, they probably would have charged 280, 290, 300. But they offer the OEM service. They take as much as they possibly can. I've heard this from so many people, and it's not just Bestech. There's a lot of companies who do this. So considering, he has to, it's not like he can call them up and be like, hey, can you guys roll the dice and make me a few hundred of these things and we'll just see if they sell, It's definitely not how that works. If you're ever wondering, yeah, you do invest. You do have to pay for this service up front, and then you only get paid if they are popular, and obviously if you have enough room to make some profit. And last time I checked, Bestech and Wicked Dream Designs were not they were not charities, they're businesses, but still trying to price things fairly. But I'm just pointing that out because I understand, Bestech, it's not like this guy can make these in his basement. No, you need an OEM, or you need to be a professional knife maker. So $340. I'm going to guess that bit there is so that he can make something on it. And so while it is really expensive and, paying $340 for a knife nowadays, or $330 for a knife right around that area, it gets you a lot of knife, right? There are some American knives that are titanium and magna cut that are right around that territory. I think the new tactile Rockwall is that, but is that nearly as complicated of a knife? No, it definitely isn't. It also, in terms of fit and finish, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's not as good. This is better, but it's made in China, right? So I think Bestech's obviously taken the lion's share, and they can do that being the OEM. But this is a cool collector piece, right? So is it recommendable to the average person? No, I can't. I still find it shocking that anybody expects me to say that. Like the people who say, oh, Metal Complex loves everything and he recommends everything. I'm like, well, you're not actually watching my reviews. You're just assuming. Clearly, this is not made for everybody. It's also not recommendable to everybody. This is a niche item within a niche hobby, right? It's at least 2 layers of niche. You don't buy this because you're looking for something to appreciate and value, or you're looking for the most tactical tool in its category, or the most, utilitarian, the most efficient. No, you buy something like this because it's freaking cool, right? So that's where you're at there. Who's this for? It's for people who, they spend roughly this amount of money on pocket knives because they collect and because they think it's cool. It is a premium knife. I'm not saying, that this is like a $20 object being marked up to $340. No, I'm saying realistically, it should probably cost, $290-ish, and Bestech is just making it a little difficult for these things to be priced correctly. But super duper nice, good materials. It's totally functional and usable if you want to. It's just going to, that tip's going to slow you down after a while. But really cool. Definitely an awesome part of any collection. I'm super happy to own this now. I knew I wanted to own this from the first time I saw those renderings. So that's who it's for, not for everybody else. And it clearly wasn't made for everybody. It was clearly made with the collector enthusiast in mind. And I'd say he hit the nail on the head, and he created a design that people will not soon forget. So that's going to be it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. The carrot came back to do me in at the end of the video. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on the Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.